Hare Krishna. So we will continue.
Hare Krishna.
But,
Recording in progress.
so in relation to text 31, we read the entire story of Jai and Vijay, but we are going now again over the purports and look at the essence of that. So text 30 was how Krishna reciprocates with different consciousness. Text 31. Gopya kamat payat kamso tveshat setya dayonripa sambandhat vishnaya sneya yuyam bhaktya vayam vibo. My dear King Yudhishthir, the gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishupal and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familial relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we the general devotees by our devotional service have obtained the mercy of Krishna. That's Kamsa by his fear. In Nectar of Devotion here we find a glimpse of Kamsa's consciousness. Can someone read what's on the slide, please?
Kamsa once rebuked Akrura by saying, "You are such a fool that you are accepting a cowherd boy to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply because he has defeated some harmless water snake. The boy may have lifted one pebble called Govardhan Hill, but what is more surprising than that is your statement that this boy is the personality of Godhead. This is an instance of a maliciously opposing element caused by hopelessness in ecstatic love for Krishna."
Hopelessness in ecstatic love for Krishna. So it seems Kamsa had ecstatic love for Krishna. Then further, can someone read the next slide here?
Yes, Maharaj. Kansa 1, NOD chapter 131, a glimpse of Kansa's consciousness. Kansa once said, "What harm can this boy do to me? He has no power." The next moment, Kansa was informed that all of his friends had been killed by the boy. Then Kansa began to think in perplexity, "Shall I go immediately and surrender unto him? But how can a great warrior do this?" The next moment he thought, "Why should I be afraid of him? There are still so many wrestlers standing to support me." But the next moment he began to consider, the boy is certainly not common because he has lifted Govardhan Hill with his left hand. So what can I do in this connection? Let me go to Vrindavan and inflict pain on all residents there. But still, I cannot even go out because my heart is trembling from fear of this boy. This condition of Kansa's mind reveals an instance of pride, lamentation, humility, determination, remembrance, doubtfulness, anger, and fear. Actually, 8 different symptoms comprise the mental condition of Kansa. This is another instance of an aggregate of symptoms in helpless ecstatic love. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So yes. Then the next verse was about Vena. That Katamapi na Vena syat panshanam purusham prati. Tasmat kenap upayena mana Krishna nivesayet. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then by one of the 5 different poses mentioned above, one can return back to Godhead. It is like in Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna. Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways cannot attain salvation. Therefore one must somehow or other think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. So why did the result achieved by the atheistic King Vena differ from those achieved by the atheistic King Sisupal? We read the purport already, I think. But here is the essence. King Vena, being unable to think of Krishna's forms in any of these 5 ways, could not attain salvation. But Sisupal attained salvation always enviously thinking of Krishna as his enemy. So King Vena was not thinking of Krishna. That's the problem. Except for Sisupal, those who go against the regulative principle cannot attain salvation. So that means that just by thinking of Krishna, it's not that you are going to get salvation. That if one goes against a regulative principle, what is this regulative principle? Is to think of Krishna favorably. That there's the Anyabilasta Sunyam verse that Anyabilasta Sunyam Jnanakamana Anavritam Anu Krishnena Silnam Bhakti Uttama. I forget the verse. Anyabilasa Sunyam Jnanakamana Anavritam Ana Krishnena.
Anukulina Krishnanu Siladam.
Yeah. That's Anyabilasa Sunyam Jnanakamana Anukulina Krishnanu Silnam Bhakti Uttama. So we must think of Krishna favorably. That except for Sisupal, those who go against regulative principles cannot attain salvation and are surely destined for hellish life. The regulative principle is that one must always think of Krishna, whether as a friend or an enemy. So Sisupal was thinking as an enemy. Yeah, that's also in the scriptures. One smartavyas, one should always think of the Supreme Lord and never forget him. So yes. Srila Prabhupada explains how to absorb the mind in Krishna. He says Srimad Bhagavatam is the way to absorb the mind in Krishna. That's what we are doing now. And now the story of Jai and Vijay. The real reason for Jai and Vijay to come to this material world is for Lila. So therefore they were in an exceptional situation. That's explained at 3:15:30. We can read this verse, 3:15:30 to 36. 3:15. So then we go back. 3:15. 3:15. Three, 15, 30. Okay. The 4 boy sages, who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere, looked only 5 years old. Even though they were the oldest of all living entities and had realized the truth of the self, but when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glorings. Although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. When the Kumaras, although by far the fittest persons, were thus forbidden entrance by the 2 chief doorkeepers, Shiari, while other divinities looked on, their eyes suddenly turned red because of anger, due to their great eagerness to see their beloved master Shiari, the personality of Godhead. So they wanted to see the Supreme Lord, and they were prevented. The sages said, "Why do these two persons who have developed such a discordant mentality, even though they are posted in the service of the Lord in the highest position and are expected to have developed the same qualities as the Lord? How are these two persons living in Vaikuntha? Where is the possibility of an enemies coming into this kingdom of God? The Supreme Personality of God, there is no enemy. Who could be envious of him? Probably these two persons are impostors. Therefore they suspect others to be like themselves." So, in the Vaikuntha world there is complete harmony between the residents and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as there is complete harmony within space between the big and the small skies. Why then is there so a seed of fear in this field of harmony? These two persons are dressed like inhabitants of Vaikuntha, but wherefrom can there this harmony come into existence? Therefore, let us consider how these two contaminated persons should be punished. The punishment should be apt, for thus benefit can eventually be bestowed upon them. Since they find duality in the existence of a Vaikuntha life, they are contaminated and should be removed from this place to the material world, where the living entities have three kinds of enemies. When the doormen of Vaikuntha Loka, who were certainly devotees of the Lord, found that they were going to be cursed by the Brahmins, they at once became very much afraid at the feet of the Brahmins and fell down at the feet of the Brahmins in great anxiety, for a Brahmin's curse cannot be counteracted by any weapon. After being cursed by the sages, the doorman said, "It is quite apt that you have punished us for neglecting to respect sages like you, but we pray that due to your compassion and at our repentance, the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not come upon us as we go progressively down." So, at that very moment, the Lord, who is called Padmanabh, because of the lotus grown from his navel, and with the delight of the righteous learned about the insult offered by his own servants to the saints, accompanied by his spouse, the goddess of fortune, he went to the spot on those very feet sought by the recluses and great sages. The sages, headed by Sanakrishi, saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who was formerly visible only within their hearts in ecstatic trance, had now actually become visible to their eyes. As he came forwards, accompanied by his own associates, bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a camera fan, the white bunches of hair moved very gently, like two swans, and due to their favorable breeze, the pearls garlanded the umbrella also moved, like drops of nectar falling from the white full moon, or ice melting due to a gust of wind. The Lord is a reservoir of all pleasures. His auspicious presence is meant for everyone's benediction, and his affectionate smiling glance touched the core of the heart. The Lord's beautiful bodily color is blackish, and his broad chest is resting place of the goddess of fortune, who glorifies the entire spiritual world, the summit of all heavenly planets. Thus it appears that the Lord was personally spreading the beauty and good fortune of the spiritual world. Anyway, the description of Vaikuntha goes on like that. But this is how the curse happened, why Jai and Vijay came to this material world. So the real reason why they came to the spiritual, to this material world is for lila. Yeah. The Lord replied to Brahmins, "Know that the punishment you inflicted on them was originally ordained by me, and therefore they will fall to a birth in a demoniac family, but they will be firmly united with me in thought through mental concentration, intensified by anger, and they will return to my presence shortly." So that is what happened. That Jiva Goswami comments in his Jiva Sandarbha, in his Krishna Sandarbha, Jayam Vijay cursed to take 3 birds as demons. They were ultimately liberated by Krishna. Their liberation was only possible by the hands of Lord Krishna and not by any other form of the Lord. The fact that they had 3 births is a prediction that Krishna would come. That the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. So it depends on their desire and their relationship with Krishna. That and the will of Krishna, of course. The verse 35 from the Lord comes to this material world through the agency of his eternal potency, and similarly, when a devotee or associate of the Lord descends to this material world, he does so through the action of the spiritual energy. So that brings the point that where Jaya and Vijay covered by the mode of passion and ignorance, that was Arjuna covered by the mode of passion to fight. But Arjuna was a pure devotee. And in the Bhagavad Gita is explained that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Arjuna was influenced by Yoga Maya, the spiritual energy, and was thus bewildered. So that's interesting. That's here the same thing is suggested here, that he does so through the action of the spiritual energy. Therefore, it is to be understood that when Jaya and Vijay descended to this material world, they came because there was something to be done for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it is a fact that no one falls from Vaikuntha. They descended because of Yoga Maya, not of the material energy. So that is what also Jiva Goswami says. They came in their spiritual form. That their body was spiritual, was not material. It was under Yoga Maya. Anyway, not easy to understand, but that is what the Acharyas say. Their being cursed was simply a pretext, Jiva Goswami said. The Lord then said that these are attendants, Jaya and Vijay, depart this place, but fear not. All glory is unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahman's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval. So the Lord's pastimes was actual reason why they fell from Vaikuntha. And it was not really a falling from Vaikuntha, because they remained under the spiritual energy. And so they are very exceptional cases. 37 purport. The purport is that the personal associates of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha are always liberated persons. That was verse 37. 37. Yeah. The purport is that the personal associates of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha Loka are always liberated persons. Even if sometimes cursed or blessed, they are always liberated and never contaminated by the material modes of nature. Because before their liberation to Vaikuntha Loka, they possessed material bodies. But once they come to Vaikuntha, they no longer have them. Therefore, even if associates of Lord Vishnu sometimes descend as if cursed, they are always liberated. That's the same thing which is explained in Prabhupada's purport of 37. So the purport of 43. 43, I read the verse first, that we are in line. The Lord, the Supersoul of all living entities, is sober, peaceful, and equal to everyone, since the great devotee Prahlad was protected by the Lord's potency. Hiranyakashipu was unable to kill him, in spite of endeavoring to do so in various ways. So the Supreme Lord's punishment is also a manifestation of the Lord's equality. Punishment by the Lord is accepted by the devotee as the greatest mercy. Thus this verse, Tateno Kampam Susumexamo Bunjanmai Van Adredag Vivakam, Ritvachva Vabrbich, Vidoda Namaste Chivetio Muktipade Sadayabak. We accept the suffering that we undergo as the mercy of Krishna. And then we are ready for liberation. So punishment by the Lord is accepted by devotees as the greatest mercy. Punishment by Krishna is better than what any relative can do for you. And that's this verse 1088:8, the verse that says that when when Lord Krishna gives his mercy to a devotee or to someone, then it takes everything what this person is attached to. And by that his relatives reject him, he loses everything. Because for a devotee, these adverse situations help him to come closer to Krishna. Shiva Goswami from Paramatma Sandarbha. If one who commits Vaishnava aparat is burnt in a volcanic fire of hatred and will be touched by the anger of the Lord, but protected by previous performed devotional service, receives personal liberation, not the liberation in the impersonal Brahman. Okay, that gives us hope. Verse 46. Srila Prabhupada, Jai and Vijay went back to the spiritual world and assumed their original positions as doorkeepers in Vaikuntha, but they waited until the end of the Marsala Lila. When Krishna returned or went to the next universe. Explain how the Lord's actions towards Shishupal were actually merciful. That's a good question. Exam question. Narada Muni explained to Maharaj Yudhishthira that by entering Krishna's body, Shishupal re-entered Vaikuntha Loka as the Lord's associate. Everyone had seen this incident. Hare Krishna. So this is the first chapter that I have forwarded this PowerPoint presentation to Radhika Nagra Prabhu, so you can ask him to share it with you. I asked him in the email to share it with you. Any questions or comments further on this chapter? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Was Mother Sundari Gopi passed. Yeah.
Maharaj, so Shishupal became an associate in Vaikuntha planet. But Shishupal is the same Jai from the Jai and Vijay pastime who became the doorkeepers. So did he become an associate or the doorkeeper? Are they two different spirit souls or the single spirit soul?
When Srila Prabhupada writes, they went back to their previous position in the spiritual world. That, what that means, I don't know. Maybe it seems that their svarup is to be a doorkeeper of the Supreme, of Vaikuntha. And by that they serve the Supreme Lord. So that's what Prabhupada writes. I cannot further comment on that. Anything else?
Yes, Maharaj. It makes sense. They went back to the as doorkeepers. And Shishupal, the same thing. He became associate of the Lord. The doorkeepers are associates of the Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yaduraj Krishna, Prabhu, please.
Maharaj, what is Mausalya Leela?
Musala Lila is that is when all at the end when the sages cursed the Yadus to well, it starts with Samba. Samba was the son of one of the queens of Krishna. Amba he was always with his mother, therefore he was called Samba. And they were the grandchildren of Krishna. And they started to play tricks with some sages in Dwarka. And all the youngsters in Dwarka, but they decided to dress Samba as a girl. And they put under the clothing something that made him look like a pregnant girl. And they went before the sages, and the youngster said, "Oh, this girl is pregnant. Can you tell us, will she give birth to a boy or a girl?" And the sages became very grave. And the sages cursed spoke a curse and said, "This girl will give birth to an iron lump. And this iron lump will be the cause of the destructions of the Yadu dynasty." And when they were cursed, they became serious, sober, and went to King Ugrasena and gave him the news that they were cursed. And King Ugrasena called the Yadus all to the meeting hall, and they discussed it, and King Ugrasena ordered to pulver to reduce this iron lump they found under the clothes of Samba, to reduce it to iron powder. They could reduce it to iron powder. Only a little piece was left, and King Ugrasena ordered to throw it into the ocean. But the ocean brought it back to the shore where bamboo sticks were growing. And the iron mixed with the bamboo, the bamboo sticks. And that was at the place Prabhas. Then King Ugrasena ordered all the Yadus to go to Prabhas to counteract this curse of the sages to do austerities. And they came at Prabhas did austerities, but then they started to drink a kind of rice liquor and they became very drunk all. And they started to fight with each other with bamboo sticks they took from the water at the shore. But they were very sharp. And by that, they all killed each other and the Yadus were removed from this world. And that is the Marsala Lila. That is, so it said here in the purport that yes, Shishupal went back to the Vaikuntha, but he remained in the Brahmajyoti till the Marsala Lila. And then he went to Vaikuntha. Because at that time also Lord Krishna left this world after instructing Uddhav. That a little later he also left. Because that little piece that they throw in of this iron lump that could not be grounded, they threw into the ocean and it was eaten by a fish, and the fish went to a fisherman. Fisherman went from the fish went to a hunter who prepared it, and he found the iron piece, and he used the iron piece to put on an arrow. And he was hunting in the forest near to Dwarka and Prabhas, and he was thinking of seeing a deer, and he was shooting the arrow in the feet of Krishna. And Krishna left this world. He left his body and went up to Vaikuntha, because of course Krishna cannot leave a body because he is everything. And that's most bewildering for the atheist. So that's the Mausala Lila. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, thank you. Maharaj, the hunter Jara formerly he was Birku or he was Vali Maharaj? Previous life.
I don't know the previous life, but it's mentioned in the scriptures, yes. That
Okay.
I don't remember. I forgot somewhere.
Thank you.
But there is a story to it, that's right. That good. Good, thank you very much. Then we can stop today, but before stopping, I want to read from Prabhakna's summary, the section we went through today in Canto 7. Here. Okay. So we read the first part of the summary. Now the second part of today. Sukadev Goswami then narrated to Maharaj Pariksit the following incident. Formerly, when Maharaj Yudhishthira had performed the Rajasuya sacrifice, he personally saw Shishupal merge into the body of Lord Krishna. Being highly astonished, the king inquired about this from Narada, who was seated nearby. O great sage, it is very surprising that the demon Shishupal had merged into the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in spite of his being extremely envious. Even great transcendentalists often fail to attain this Sayucha Mukti, And so how could the Lord's enemy achieve it? I've heard that formerly King Vema had blasphemed the Supreme Lord and was thus obliged to go to hell. From the very beginning of his life, even before he could speak properly, the most sinful son of Dhammaghosha began blaspheming Krishna, as did his brother Dantavrakra. And yet, in spite of repeatedly blaspheming the Lord, these two brothers remained quite healthy. Their tongues were not attacked by white leprosy, and they did not enter into the darkest region of hell. How was it possible for Shishupal and Dantavrakra to receive such mercy from the Lord? Despite their being avowed enemies, my intelligence has become disturbed while thinking about this, like the flame of a candle blown by the wind. O Narada, you are the knower of everything. Therefore, kindly enlighten me about the cause of this wonderful occurrence. In the presence of all those assembled at Raja Suya's sacrifice, Narada replied, My dear king, due to being in the bodily conception of life, the conditioned souls become subjected to the dualities like praise and chastisement. However, because Lord Vishnu has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. For this reason, the Lord does not feel pleasure or pain when offered prayers or blasphemed, nor does he have any enemies or friends. Indeed, the Lord's acceptance of prayers from the devotees and his chastisement of the demons are both absolutely good. Therefore, by enmity, fear, by affection, or by lusty desires, as well by devotional service, if somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Supreme Lord, the result will be the same. Indeed, it is my opinion that by devotional service one cannot generally achieve such an intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity towards him. For example, there is a certain kind of worm that is confined between a hole in the wall by a bee. Due to constantly thinking of the bee out of fear, the worm later on receives the body of a bee. Similarly, if one thinks of Krishna by any of the above-mentioned means, he becomes purified of all sins and ultimately attains his original spiritual body. Many persons in the past have attained liberation because by thinking of Krishna with great attention in this way, the gopis attained such perfection by means of their lusty desires, Kamsa by fear, Sisupal by his envy, the Yadus by their familial relationships with Krishna, you the Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we the general devotees by our devotional service. Somehow or other, if one considers the form of Krishna very seriously, he can return home back to Godhead. Atheists like King Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form, cannot attain salvation. O best of the Pandavas, your two cousins, Sisupal and Dantavrakra, the sons of your material aunt, were formerly associates of Lord Vishnu, who due to being cursed by the Brahmins fell from Vaikuntha in this material world. First, these two gatekeepers of Lord Vishnu, Jai and Vijay, were born in Satya Yuga as the sons of Diti. One was Hiranyakashipu, who always tortured his devotee son Prahlad, and the other was Hiranyaksha. Thereafter, in Treta Yuga, they were born as Ravan and Kumbhakarna, the sons of Vishrava and his wife Kashini. Now Jai and Vijay have appeared as your cousins, Sisupal and Dantavrakra. Due to being struck by the Lord Sudarshan Chakra, they became freed from the Brahman's curse. Because they thought of Krishna for a very long time due to feelings of enmity, Jai and Vijay were able to regain the shelter of the Lord and returning back home, back to Godhead. But Yudhishthira then asked, My dear sages, parents are always affectionate towards their children. When a son is disobedient, the father may chastise him. But this is done for his welfare and not out of enmity. How it is possible that for Hiranyakashipu to try and kill his exalted son, who was obedient, well-behaved and respectful? Also, please explain to me how a small boy like Prahlad could have become such an exalted devotee of the Lord. So, this, in the next chapter, the personalities will be introduced who play the lila of leading up to Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance. So first Hiranyakashipu will be introduced in the next chapter. And it's a very interesting chapter because there we will hear that Hiranyakashipu is consoling the widows of Hiranyaksha and gives them transcendental knowledge. Also interesting lessons for us. So we will be instructed by Hiranyakashipu, but we may never forget his Jai in the spiritual world. But it's very interesting. So please read the next chapter, at least the first half. We will have the first half tomorrow and then the last half on Friday. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Namaskaram.
Hare Krishna.